Starship 24 gets destacked then restacked as S-25 butts in. Several additions are made to the SpaceX website. Falcon 9 launches a couple missions after Dragon completes one. And we finish with today's honorable mention. I'm Kevin, and this is SpaceX in the News. Last week, we covered Starship 24 stacking atop its Super Heavy booster down at the Starbase launch site in South Texas. Well, over the weekend, she was destacked, leading some to speculate issues had been encountered. Elon only informing us that SpaceX is proceeding very carefully. If there is a rapid unscheduled disassembly, that is to say an explosion on the pad, Starship progress will be set back about 6 months. The reason it would be so long is because Starship only has one orbital launch pad, so damaging it would be a very bad thing. And they'd also have to make potential corrections to the current fleet. The reason it would be set back by only 6 months is because the fleet does in fact exist. The next Starship in line, S-25, was moved out of the high bay on Wednesday and transported down Highway 4 to the launch site as well. Starship Gazer, Lab Padre, and RGV aerial photography providing us with some action shots. Then the following day, she was lifted onto suborbital Pad A as S-24 was being hoisted back on top of Booster 7. Testing for all of the above may very well kick off as early as Monday, since there are road closures in place every day of next week, and a new marine safety bulletin has gone out. On Friday afternoon, NASA's fourth official Dragon crew returned from a 6-month stay at the space station, coming in hot over the Florida coast and popping chutes to safely splash down in the ocean. They were fished out of the water by SpaceX's recovery fleet, where they tasted fresh air for the first time since they left Earth last April. Then just hours later on Saturday morning, Eutelsat Hotbird 13F lifted off aboard Falcon 9 from Slick 40, Florida, successfully delivering the telecommunications satellite to geosynchronous transfer orbit a little over a half-hour later. This was the third flight for this first stage boomstick, sticking a landing on Just Read the Instructions, bobbing on the Atlantic. Then on Thursday morning, the 65th Starlink mission was launched from the same pad carrying 54 Starlink satellites. It marked the company's 48th launch of 2022 and gave Falcon 9 the record for most launches of a single vehicle type in a year. This booster nailed its 10th overall landing out at sea on the autonomous drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas. Concerning other Starlink news, Elon has said, or written, "The hell with it, even though Starlink is still losing money and other companies are still getting billions of tax dollar signs, we'll just keep funding Ukraine's government for free." And so SpaceX has withdrawn its request for funding from the Department of Defense. If you'd like to know more context, simply check out my last episode because, frankly, I'm tired of talking about it. Elon wrote that SpaceX will be adding a donate option to their Starlink website, so those who wish to also put their own money where their mouth is will be able to do so. Another addition to the website is Starlink Aviation. Now celebrities can stream climate change documentaries as they travel the world in their private jets. But so can you, if you plebs are willing to identify a fully booked Boeing 737 as your very own Gulfstream. That's not a middle seat you're sitting in if its pronouns are the aisle. For just $12,000 to $25,000 Musk bucks a month, with a one-time $150,000 hardware cost, commercial airlines or anyone who owns a plane can now reserve Starlink with delivery starting next year. Each plane can receive 350 megabits per second speeds, enabling all passengers to access streaming-capable internet at the same time. Latency as low as 20 milliseconds means passengers can perform high data rate activities like video calls and even online gaming. The kit includes an aero terminal, power supply, 2 wireless access points, and harnesses to allow for minimal downtime during installation. The Elon-in-Chief writing, "We even did a Starlink video call on one airplane aloft to Starlink on another faraway airplane aloft, and it worked perfectly with no lag." And also updated on SpaceX's website was information in regard to their Falcon 9 rideshare program. The payload configuration has been redesigned, allowing even more small sats, up to 50 kilograms, to ride to orbit for the competitively low price of $5,500 per kilo. And they can now book directly through the SpaceX website, choosing a plate that suits their needs instead of deciding whether to eat additional costs for extra capacity they don't use or purchase services from a third party. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, My Patriot Supply. I know with all the turmoil and uncertainty going on in the world, emergency food basically sells itself these days. But for those watching who may need reminded, inflation was up 8.2% for September. And that's in addition to where it was last year in September, which was already at 5.4%. And just so you know, when Biden took office, annual inflation was down at 1.4%. Energy is up 18%, poultry is up 17.2%, eggs 30.5%, ice cream 13.6%. People are really feeling it. Well, most people. Not to mention there's still supply shortages, energy shortages, war, natural disasters, winter is upon us now, and recession isn't coming, We're already in one. If Republicans can take the House and Senate next month, they may be able to slow the Democrats' ludicrous spending habits that cause this inflation. But they already put the economy in a death spiral. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Invest in a little peace of mind and get yourself and your family some emergency food kits from My Patriot Supply. Each kit contains a wide variety of meals that last up to 25 years and offer over 2,000 calories per day. Go to preparewithspace.com and take advantage of the current savings they're offering. $250 off every 3-month emergency food supply you purchase. No limit, with free shipping. It's the best deal they've had since 2019, and these buckets arrive discreetly in unmarked boxes so your nosy neighbors won't raid your pantry when the zombie apocalypse happens. Seriously though, I shake my head at those who think this kind of stuff is for conspiracy theorists, doomsday preppers. That's a fool's notion. Like thousands of other veterans, I learned to be prepared during my time in the service. Even FEMA recommends every household have an emergency supply of food and water. So again, preparewithspace.com. There's a link below. But now it's time for today's honorable mention. James Alton McDivitt was the commander of Apollo's first crewed test flight of the Apollo lunar module in 1969. And since the test flight was done in Earth orbit, he remained in the minority group of Apollo astronauts who did not fly to the moon. 4 years prior, he and an old friend from the University of Michigan, Edward Higgins White, flew together on Gemini 4, conducting America's first spacewalk. McDivitt logged more than 14 days in space during his time as an astronaut. Before being selected by NASA as part of Group 2, same group as Armstrong, and before retiring as a brigadier general for the US Air Force, Jim was a test pilot and aeronautical engineer. Before that, he flew 145 combat missions in Korea as a fighter pilot, earning multiple distinguished flying crosses. He's today's honorable mention because this week at the age of 93, James passed away in his sleep in Tucson, Arizona. Less than a dozen Apollo astronauts who flew to space still remain with us. Well, that's all for this one. Thank you for spending this moment with me. Aww. And thank you, Locals members, for supporting the show. All of you be sure to have a phenomenal weekend, and until next time, Godspeed.